this season on Sister Wives.
Maddie's actually going to be home tonight, and she kind of has an announcement she wants to share with the family.
We're gonna have a baby after we get married.
So I've been to Robyn's a couple of times today. She's consistently now having contractions every 3 to 4 minutes.
Perfect. That's the way, Robyn. That's the way. That's the way.
Pushing.
Keep her coming. Keep her coming.
Robyn's birthing scene was like a ghost story coming to life. Eerily silent and mysteriously tidy. The hush that enveloped the room as she gave birth was spine-chilling, especially with her mom's advice to keep it a no-screen zone. It's like she turned the volume down on one of life's most intense experiences, and the squeaky clean, almost bloodless delivery had me wondering if they'd hired a magician instead of a medical team. But the real horror flick movement, her mom and stepdad parking themselves at the foot of the bed, eyes locked on the most private of premieres. Having family in the delivery room? Sure, it's a support squad move. But there's a world of difference between being a comforting presence by her side and setting up camp for an awkward, full frontal row viewing. The presence of her stepdad in the mix adds a whole new layer of yikes to the equation. It's one of those situations where you're not sure if it's less weird or just cranks up the ick factor. A genuine dad, gent, would have gracefully bowed out of the home birth viewing party, opting for the neutral territory of the living room, a safe distance from the birthing action. On deck for any sudden supply runs? Sure, but not camped out in the splash zone. It's just a tad too eerie for comfort. Behold the miracle of life, they exclaim. But let's be real. You'll meet the little miracle without needing a front row seat to the grand finale featuring my Nether regions performing a multitasking marvel of birthing, farting, and everything in between. If your presence in the birthing room is non-negotiable, stick to the headquarters zone near mom's head. Be the silent support, the hand holder on demand, not the spectator of the labor show. Remember, the true marvel here is the arrival of that bundle of joy, the tiny human who wasn't there a moment ago and is now part of the world, railing and cozying up to mom. As a mere bystander, keep your eyes on the miracle, not the raw and intense intimacy of the moment. Isn't it ironic how these folks cringe at a premarital peck, yet turn the most personal and poignant of life's experiences into a public viewing? Keep the focus on the joy, not the journey. If I were convinced that these women were living their dream life of choice, I'd say live and let live. Yet something tells me their voices are drowned out by the chorus of group norms, hubby's dictates, and cultish expectations. And boy, does that set off my ick alarms. Then there's the on-screen spectacle of Robyn's soundless birthing saga, with Cody playing the part of Stepdad. Was this Robyn's heartfelt wish for a global broadcast? Or was it the siren call of TLC dollars dictating the show? After all, a birth scene is a surefire magnet for viewers' eyes, a spicy ingredient in the reality TV stew. The snapshots of Cody planting smooches on his mom and his stepdaughters, Aurora and Brianna, have been doing the rounds, and boy, do they churn the stomach. It's like a crash course in Cody's unique brand of biology, those mouth hormones, or hormones, as he whimsically put it. Remember that episode where he spun a yarn about hormones that he called hormones, hitching a ride on a kiss? Cute? Hardly. Hilarious? In a cringe comedy kind of way, sure. It's a Cody classic, comedy gold, if your sense of humor is tuned to the bizarre. When it comes to portraying women, It feels like our screens are flooded with narratives that subtly clip our wings, dictating our autonomy. This show, wrapped up as entertainment, serves as a tiny, magnified slice of this wider reality. It tempts us to see these characters as other, but peel back the layers, and aren't their struggles, their fights for autonomy, eerily reflective of our own? And about the stepdad being present at the birth. Talk about crossing lines. Birth is a deeply personal chapter, not a public performance. The whole setup was just as bizarre a twist that left normalcy out in the cold. Wasn't he casually munching on snacks as if he were waiting for the curtains to rise on the big show, right there in the delivery room? And let's not forget, he was doubling as the unofficial cameraman, wasn't he? Taking multitasking to a whole new level of cringe. With him behind the lens, it was like he had the power to direct his own bizarre close-ups and zoom-outs. Talk about an invasion of privacy turned into a DIY home movie. Just gives you the heebie-jeebies. Only a certified troupe of eccentrics would turn their birthing room into a buzzing social hub, complete with a national TV crew, unless it's a convention of folks with MD trailing behind their names. For me, it was just my hubby, myself, and my trusty exercise ball, the only audience I needed for my birthing marathons. My dad was my rock, but birthing rooms? That was a no-fly zone for him. If he were around, there's no way he'd be front and center for the baby exit extravaganza. He'd probably be in the waiting room, pacing, not parked in the splash zone. Thankfully, we were on the same page. Birthing was a spectator sport he was more than happy to miss in his life. For the sake of our own sanity, let's picture Robyn modestly draped in a way that shielded her stepdad from the full birthing spectacle. Yet, his viewing demeanor, it had all the enthusiasm of someone stuck watching the dullest football match. You could almost see him mentally flipping channels, longing for a quarterback in action instead of a birthing scene. And then there's the name game saga. Robyn, originally a Mark, switched to Sullivan, her stepdad's surname, post-divorce from Preston. Seems like her mom set the blueprint, sidelining the biological dad and slotting the stepdad into the father figure role. Robyn seems to follow suit, with bio dads getting the boot post-divorce as they craft a narrative where stepdads always have been the main man. It's like a family tradition of rewriting history, one surname at a time. I might be on my own island here, but the noises Robyn was emitting seemed more suited to a steamy scene than a birthing suit. But hey, to each their own symphony. As for my own birthing concerts, it's been a mixed bag. I was a mime the first round and a lead vocalist the second. And if someone had dared to shush me with a screaming doesn't help during my solo, they'd have found themselves swiftly escorted out of my private opera house. When Payne's the conductor, I insist on performing my reaction loud and clear. In my debut birthing gig, I wasn't exactly the vocal type. No screaming, moaning, or grand soundtracks. Picture more of a heavy-breathing, hyperventilating solo act. Back then, I was more of a quiet storm, so unleashing a scream fest didn't seem like my style, nor did it promise any bonus points for pain relief. Nurses were all about the let it out mantra, but for me, zoning out was my go-to coping mechanism during those contractions. It's a unique playlist for everyone, and each birth can spin a totally different tune. Fast forward 7 years to round 2 in the birthing arena, and I transformed into a one-woman sound machine. Screaming? Check. Moaning? You bet. Mooing? Absolutely. It was my unexpected hit track. Turns out there's some method to the mooing madness. It's like your body's natural push button, unlike those plain old deep breaths that just don't pack the same punch. Who knew a birthing breath tutorial could turn me into a vocal virtuoso in the delivery room? It was a symphony of sounds, and hey, it hit the right notes for me. My first birthing rodeo was a tearjerker, not a scream fest. I was more about the waterworks and the I can't do this soliloquies to my hubby than going full volume. And let me tell you, anyone suggesting I pipe down during that ordeal clearly didn't get the memo on childbirth etiquette. The ring of fire felt more like an inferno, and the episiotomy didn't exactly add any charm to the experience. Add in a cocktail of inducements and interventions, and you've got a recipe for a post-birth recovery that felt longer than a marathon. Fast forward to baby number 2, and I was all natural all the way. No medical jazz hands involved. My mantra? I can and I will conquer this. A battle cry I chanted to my husband as I powered through. That ring of fire? Sure, it burned, but this time it was laced with a thrill, a kind of bring it on excitement that turned the pain into a badge of honor. And all those back massages and back rubs and back pushes from my husband for each contraction really did help ease my entire labor experience. After catching wind of Cody's meltdown over a mild fever, it's crystal clear labor would have had him waving the white flag faster than you can say epidural. The man who crumbles at 99 degrees? Quite during childbirth? Now, that's a comedy special I'd pay to see. And then there's my postpartum phase, where mooing and humming became my go-to remedies for, well, bathroom blockades. It was like my own private concert in the loo, at least for the first 6 months. But as time went by, my need for these vocal aids faded into oblivion. That is until Robyn's birthing spectacle unearthed those memories like a surprise rerun of a show I thought I'd cancelled long ago. Oh, the joys of childbirth, the gift that keeps on giving and mooing. My first birthing voyage was a serene sail, thanks to the magic of an epidural. Just a hint of pressure as my little one made her debut. Round 2, however, was a raw, all-natural adventure where every twinge felt like a roadblock. There I was convinced my bundle of joy was hitting a detour, only to be told it was just the grand stretchathon of my own anatomy. But when the next wave hit, I channeled my inner superhero, gave it everything I had, and voila, my petite 6-pounder made her grand entrance. A word to the wise for all future birthing champions. Remember, it's one thing to play armchair quarterback from the comfort of the sidelines, another to be in the thick of the action. Reality has a funny way of tossing our best laid plans right out of the window. So buckle up, Buttercup. It's quite the ride. Throughout my life, I've been something of a pain-defying visit, shrugging off the agony of a nail impaling my foot, tumbling down a cascade of marble steps, enduring the dentist's worst, battling gallstones, and even surviving a pancreas and outright rebellion. My firstborn's arrival was a breeze with the epidural's magic touch. But kiddo number 2, that was a whole new ballgame. No silent stoicism there. I let loose with screams that could have woken the dead. So don't count your chickens before they hatch. You might find yourself in the banshee corner too. And here's how I frame it. Imagine shoving a hefty appliance across the room. Sometimes you've got to channel your inner weightlifter, grunting and groaning to get that stubborn beast to budge. That's childbirth for you, a Herculean effort with a soundtrack to match. The whole scene with Robyn's mom, Alice, and her stepdad was straight out of the dystopian world of The Handmaid's Tale. The way Stepdad's gaze zeroed in, you'd think he was overseeing livestock rather than supporting a family member. It's as if in their world, women are mere assets, and childbirth is just another routine exhibit, with Stepdad playing the role of the chief spectator. Alice, meanwhile, needed a reality check before imposing her hush-hush policy on Robyn during such an intense moment. And her stepdad, his intense scrutiny of the action was less of a supportive gesture and more of a quality control inspection, micromanaging a process that's already miraculous in its own right. Giving birth is a marvel, a powerful act that shouldn't be downplayed or sanitized for comfort. The whole setup had a chilling, American Psycho-esque aura, a bizarre blend of control and eerie calm amidst a moment that's anything but. Rumor has it that Scientologists insist on a soundless birthing experience. Seems like cults have a one-size-fits-all manual when it comes to these rituals. The whole scene was like a cringe buffet, from Robyn's soft moans to Cody's bizarre compliment on her ladylike silent labor. Add in the unsettling presence of her stepdad and mom, plus Cody's intense gaze, and you've got a full set of goosebumps. And then there was the moaning, so eerily misplaced, it could have been a soundtrack to a completely different type of film. I literally had to do a double take when I overheard it from the other room. Is this a baby arriving or something else entirely? I wondered. A quick fast forward was the only way to escape the discomfort zone. If my hubby had tried that overly intimate tie-rub routine, like Mr. Goldilocks, he'd have been met with a swift, defensive reflex to the face. Seriously, every birth scene from the Brown family has had an eerie undertone. For a group that's been lectured on modesty from dawn till dusk, they sure chose a public avenue to share one of life's most intimate moments. And then there's Cody, whispering, "Breathe, breathe, breathe," in her ear, as if she's a first-timer and not a seasoned pro at the baby delivery game. It's like these cultish circles have a playbook for stripping down the dignity of women, making a spectacle of their pain and resilience. Alice really missed the memo on teaching Robyn the art of grace and tact, especially under the national TV spotlight. Instead of the typical maternal wisdom, it seems like Robyn got a crash course in starring as the prime-time drama queen, minus the birthing scenes, of course. It seems birthing is the only time when her patience is impressive, but in every other episode, season after season, she is the greatest drama queen after every few seconds, crying, huffing, puffing, and running away like the runaway bride. Perhaps a lesson or two in the basics, honesty, kindness, and steering clear of any grifts would have served Robyn better. Instead, it's like she graduated with honors from the school of how to snatch the limelight by any means necessary. It seems like Robyn's upbringing might have been the master class in the peculiar arts she displays. However, adulthood should come with a self-improvement clause, right? The whole notion of instructing or even subtly nudging a woman to keep it together during labor is beyond bizarre, especially when the advice comes from a fellow member of the labor club. It reeks of that keep sweet mantra, a concept that's all shades of unsettling. At some point, you've got to trade in the old script for a fresh narrative. Why do women in these cults get endlessly treated like toddlers or teenagers on a perpetual basis till the end of their life? A question I don't know how to answer. Plus, let's not overlook the symphony of camera shutters and the flashbulb fiesta. One can't help but wonder, what in the scrapbooking horror show are they planning to do with those snapshots? Maybe they're curating the world's most cringeworthy photo album. And then there's Robyn's mom, seemingly on a mission to document the event with a dedication that's more alarming than admirable. It's like a paparazzi showdown at the most unglamorous red carpet event ever. Talk about a memory lane no one asked to stroll down on. The stepdad's unblinking expedition into the birthing abyss surely takes the crown for the show's ultimate cringe fest. It's the icing on the ick cake, especially when you factor in that he swooped into Robyn's life when she was practically on the cusp of adulthood, a mere 16 or 17 years old. It wasn't like he was there throughout her childhood. He popped up during her late teen years, which just adds layers of unease to the whole scenario. It definitely raises eyebrows or questions about the dynamics of their relationship. Maybe it's that in the Mormon faith, men are seen as hotline operators to the divine, holding the priesthood hotline to dial up Jesus for an emergency intervention. That might explain their front row seats to the whole show. I've stumbled upon tales where polygamous girls are coached to believe that letting out a peep during childbirth is practically a villainous act against their newborns. Sounds like a chapter straight out of the cult playbook. Watching these sheltered religious groups step into the reality TV spotlight really peels back the curtain on just how emotionally boxed in and stifled they can be. Personally, I could have done without front row tickets to the Brown family's birthing marathons. And as for the grandparent brigade, they were comfortably stationed in their own abodes, exactly where the unwritten rules of birth watching etiquette say they should be, as far as my own birthing was concerned. The contrast between Truly's and Solomon's births was like night and day when it came to Cody's level of engagement. While Christine was grappling with labor pains, Cody was busy swapping smooches with Robyn and glued to his phone. There's Christine, alone and anxious in the hospital, practically begging Cody to show up, and there he is, leisurely locking lips with his girlfriend, blatantly ignoring his wife's pleas. By the time he finally graced the hospital with his presence, he was more engrossed in his text messages than in the unfolding birth. Utterly disrespectful. Both Cody and Robyn seem to have missed the memo on basic decency. Cody took an actual exit mid-labor. Talk about a baffling move. It's hard to wrap your head around someone dipping out during such a crucial, nail-biting moment. The thought of a partner going MIA when you're in the throes of labor is just unimaginable. And with the induction on the radar, you'd think they'd be all prepped with the delivery essentials at the ready, or at the very least have a backup plan with another adult or teen on standby for supply runs. Cody's hospital walkout to rendezvous with Robyn is forever etched in my mind. Then he tries to downplay it with a microscopic peck on Mary during Robyn's labor, as if it's all in the same ballpark. Newsflash, Cody. A micro smooch with your decades-long spouse doesn't level the playing field. Robyn's always had the vibe of a forbidden romance. And let's talk about Robyn's mom, the oracle of peculiar advice. Whether she's dishing out gems like spread your fragrance around, or tagging Robyn as the family's fall guy, or even suggesting treating your partner like a top-tier client. It's a never-ending flow of, let's say, unique guidance. As far as having her stepdad in the splash zone, you do you, Robyn. But that's gonna be a big ol' nope for me. Why was her mom okay with her husband seeing her daughters with JJ? So gross. Wouldn't it be hilarious to find out they recreated this scene? I have a nagging feeling Robyn gave birth earlier, and they faked it, considering how there was no sign of blood and how sterile the environment looked immediately after delivery. I mean, that would make sense, given the kind of control freaks that Robyn and Cody are, and also given how secretive they are. It's a real head scratcher how Robyn, usually a waterfall of tears at the drop of a hat, morphs into the epitome of stoicism when it's showtime in the delivery room. As someone who's braved the wild ride of natural birth, totally unplanned, I've got to hand it to her. Maintaining that level of chill while birthing a tiny human is no small feat. Misguided reasoning aside, it's an achievement. If only she could channel that same zen across the board over the last 13 years, season after season after season, episode after episode after episode, she might shake off her Robyn moniker. But let's talk about the missed opportunity here. Childbirth is practically the green light for a no-holds-barred venting session, a free pass to unleash on anyone within earshot. And there's Robyn, not shedding a single tear for once, all while her stepdad's camera is getting an uncomfortably close-up view. It's enough to make you shout, "I can't with these folks." The moment when Robyn's water broke and gave the midwife an unexpected golden shower, I swear I'm not too mature to chuckle at that spectacle even after going through 2 births myself. Then there's Maddie's birthing saga, which was nothing short of a nail-biter. Her marathon first labor could easily spook anyone new to the birthing game, but her second go-around left me genuinely concerned. Opting for a home birth, especially knowing there could be genetic complications, is a gamble I can't wrap my head around, with every tick of the clock being precious for a child with health concerns. Proximity to a NICU can be a lifesaver. Choosing the comfort of a home setting over the security of hospital resources, it's a trade-off that's hard to justify. And don't even get me started on tub births. It's like rolling out a welcome mat for infections and other risks. In my book, when it comes to childbirth, safety trumps sentiment every single time. Birth stories are like snowflakes. No two are exactly the same. Maddie's labor marathon was more like an ultra marathon, pushing the pain threshold to a whole new level. It's a stark reminder that childbirth, especially at home, can sometimes veer off the scenic route and into uncharted territory. It's your birth, your rose, whether you're all about that home birth vibe or you're team hospital all the way. But let's not turn it into the parenting Olympics. The whole my way or the highway attitude doesn't do any favors. We're all in this messy, beautiful journey of parenthood together, trying to play the best hand we're dealt with. So here's to supporting each other's choices sans the judgment. After all, aren't we all just winging it, one contraction or cuddle at a time? That's all from me today, everyone. Talk to you another time on another video. Peace out.